glad to be here with Patti and Rick Shade. We met in Colorado at the CAG-T conference.
Just a few weeks ago.
Just a few weeks ago. I'm glad to be have the opportunity to make my rounds around the affiliates and the work that's happening at the local level for gifted parents, gifted educators, and still talking about the research. You have a little bit of research background as well, and worked a lot with our current president, George Betts. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, 1986 to 89, I was in the University of Northern Colorado, in Greeley, Colorado, and I got my doctorate in special ed and gifted ed, and George Betts was on my committee, on my doctoral committee. So I've known George for a number of years. We came back to Colorado 8 years ago, and of course we see him on a much more regular basis, being in the same state.
Well, he's a great leader for us in trying to make sure that we bring the community together. That's what we're trying to do here at the convention, to host a big family reunion. And
you have a good person to do it.
That's great. Tell me a little bit about your work in the gifted arena, too.
My work started as a state director of gifted education in Indiana, and the field I was most attracted to was differentiation and creativity. So from that, Rick and I worked with different groups and organizations in Europe and the United States with professional development all around creative thinking and really integrating creativity not only into the classroom but into what we want to say is the homeroom, at home for all students.
Differentiation is a big buzzword in all of education now. So talk a little bit about how it's different maybe for gifted students with extraordinary gifts and talents, and maybe in the general populations. Is it the same or different?
I believe it's the same. I think it's how you structure the program and the opportunities. Going through the basics and getting the content, accomplished as quickly and as efficiently as possible, and then letting those dreams and passions come through with our students on any level. Of course, our gifted students are going to take it to a much higher level, but it's just structuring a classroom so they have those open-ended opportunities.
So even in gifted classrooms, you need differentiation to work with and address the needs of all the kids in that program as well. Right?
Absolutely.
Well, as you guys know, you have 6 children. I have 4, so I guess I won't tell my wife that we're trying to catch up. But I will say that parents are very important to NAGC, and we're trying to work more closely to serve their needs. What are some of those needs that you're hearing from your experience as parents, but really from the community? What are they asking of you?
Well, I think one of the things that parents, I think in general, really want is they want you as a teacher to understand their child, to understand their child's story. Now that's a little difficult with 25 or 30 kids, but I think there's ways that we can do that. So that's number one. Secondly, I think, and I come from a special ed background as well, and for a number of years in special ed, we were working on a bit of a deficit model, and I think gifted as well as special ed is now shifting to a strength-based model. So I'm looking at a child's story and what are their strengths.
I think the most common refrain we hear from parents, they want their children to be happy. And that's why we started Creativity Crusade with our work, because we know that exploring your passions is the road to happiness. It's learning how to continue on after school, in the profession, and the personal avenues that make you really happy with creative productivity.
Sometimes gifted kids, I know in my house and in others, because I hear it often, sometimes look grumpy. Can they be grumpy and happy at the same time?
They need to be grumpy sometimes, and they need to be bored sometimes, and they need to be challenged by that boredom to do something, creative with their, and their thinking skills. So all that's good.
Yeah,
It's like stepping back and letting them ponder for a while.
And that pondering is good, but I forget who said it, but everybody can step out of the shower with a great idea, but unless you do the hard work that's necessary, it doesn't really happen or materialize. So the work part is where they might be a bit grumpy.
But at the same time, we're happiest when we're doing the work that we want to do, and creating and making and all of those things that that were spoken of today during our parent session. So you've given some advice to other parents that might be watching, but I hear that you just wrote a book, and it might include some advice for me and my kids.
Right. We have a book we call the Creativity Crusade: Nurturing and Protecting Your Child's Creativity. And this is generally what happens. Everybody on the planet, we think, is born very creative. Think of how children learn. But at about the age of 5 or 6, we move to school, and it's a different type of learning. And sometimes creativity is not as valued, perhaps. And so we try to help teachers and parents figure out ways that they can be enjoyable, happy in their pursuit of learning.
So creativity is also valuable to children and makes them happy. I was saying earlier in my remarks that creating and making is in our human DNA.
It is.
Thank you for sharing this book with me and for
Before you
writing
guys leave.
about creativity.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.